So that was probably the biggest thing that I learned. So huge. It's so big. It's the biggest blessing that my wife and I share. So my wife and I, we were originally looking probably for just your standard single family. It was our first home purchase. We just gotten married. And buying a duplex really wasn't what we were primarily looking for. We said, hey, if something comes up, maybe we'll look into it. And then after a year of looking at houses and dealing with a frustrating real estate agent, we took a break and then kind of reevaluated our goals. And then all of a sudden, one popped up in a great area. It was a duplex. It was in halfway decent condition. It needed a decent amount of work, 2 full bathroom renovations, but we were feeling spunky and pulled the trigger on it and ended up in a duplex. And that started just the slow process of getting more and more into real estate. So once we bought the property, we had to do a decent number of renovations to it. It needed some TLC. It was a duplex up and down, so 2 full bathrooms, 2 kitchens. So the bathrooms were the worst. We had to do 2 full, to the studs bathroom renovations, which I learned a lot in that. That was a huge learning curve. Plumbing and drywall and installing tubs, installing sinks, all that kind of stuff. It was a lot to learn. The kitchen was another big one, and the upstairs. Another big project that we did was we redid all the floors. So that is pretty easy to do, but it was time consuming. We just kind of chipped away at it for probably about a year. Went a lot slower than we thought it was going to. But in the end, it's been a great investment. We've got a lot of equity in the property now and looking to buy more. I think we got lucky with the numbers because I didn't know what running numbers were on a property at the time. We just knew that the property was a duplex in an area where we bought the property for $135,000. In that area, duplexes were selling, in top-notch condition for $190,000. So we knew that, with some renovations, that could be worth $190,000 eventually someday. So that's kind of the route we went for finding a value on a property. I was also lucky in the fact that my dad is a licensed contractor, and so my entire life he's taught me little things here and there. So, and also I think just the spirit of it being a do-it-yourself kind of person. YouTube was really helpful. Learned a lot from YouTube. But yeah, it was more so, I'm just going to do this and see what I like, what I don't like, and learned a lot from the process. So a lot of it was us not knowing what we got ourselves into and said, well, we've got to learn it because it's too much to pay someone to do it. So, so the purchase price was, we purchased it for $135,000 with 20% down. Again, that was not strategic. We just thought, hey, you want to be a 20% down kind of person. So that's where we went. Looking back, probably would have done it a little bit differently, but that's whatever now. And then afterwards, the renovation costs, there would have been more if we had paid someone to do it, but we did it all ourselves. So it was basically materials. We did a little bit. We paid some contract labor a little bit. I would say in the range of $15,000. But altogether with the labor that we paid and then the cost of materials, I think we had about $30,000 into the property. Now today, the property is worth around $200,000 and our loan is in the range of $115,000 just because of how much we put down onto it. And so we're looking to cash out refinance this in the next few months to do a BRRRR and get our money out that we have invested into it. Yeah, so currently we've got it rented out to a family member and one other person that we found. So the rents are a little bit lower than they could be, but top market, we're looking at $1,000 in one and then $1,200 in the other. Cash flow is great. Cash flow is right now at about $500 a month. The renovation process takes a lot longer than you think it's going to take. When you're looking at a project and you want to save money, you don't really count the time it takes to learn everything, and then your dollar per hour and how much you're saving almost isn't worth it in the long run, just because if if you're spending that time fixing your property, then you're spending that time, when you could be doing something else, finding another deal. So that was probably the biggest thing that I learned. However, I probably wouldn't have done it another way, just because it was such a great learning opportunity, and learn what I liked, what I didn't like, and how I would do things differently in the future. Do it. I know it sounds kind of vague, but I talk to a lot of young people my age, and they're all talking about, buying a new house, and they thought, yeah, I might look into a duplex. I think the biggest tip for me is buy a duplex, buy a live-in, multifamily property, because the benefits you gain from not having a mortgage is so huge. It's so big. It's the biggest blessing that my wife and I share, is not having to pay a mortgage because my tenant pays for it.